Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4 Kalterkrieg of Germany. Let us continue on from my last off. So we've got negotiations going on with the British over troop deployments in southern England because, hey, guess what? I want my money, and I want it now. And hopefully, the British will just give me it. But we'll have to kind of wait and see. Aside from that, we also have a couple of negotiations kind of going on with the Russians as well because we want our territory back. Because right now we're not technically, I think, at peace. I mean, we're not fighting each other. But I believe right now between us and the Russians, it's just an armistice. Not a actual peace treaty. So war could theoretically break out between me and Moscow. I'm hoping that it doesn't, but it is a possibility. But in order for any movement on that side of of Europe to kind of develop, I think Savinkov needs to die. Now, I don't know if there's anything we can do about that. I don't know if we are able to hypothetically assassinate him, but we will see. But for now, I think overall everything's going pretty well. The British have accepted. Let's go. Excellent news comes from Oxford. It seems that the British government has seen reason and accepted our reasonable demands as issued. Citing the dismal state of their nation in the aftermath of the war, Prime Minister Eden has acknowledged that, in the interest of ensuring European peace and order, the remilitarization of the British Isles is not in their nation's best interest, as opposed to economic cooperation with the German Empire. Reports are surfacing that the British public is not necessarily agreeing with the Prime Minister's decision, but it is of little concern to us. Even if they try anything, all it would take is an atomic bomb, and they will submit once more. I love how Germany and our government is just threatening to nuke everybody. It's like, hey, if you ever try to do anything whatsoever, I will drop a sun on you. So we'll see how that goes. And the Red Banner's legacy. General Field Marshal Manfred Albridge von Richthofen, the legendary wrote Kampfflieger of the first Commander-in-Chief of the Luftwaffe. Many would argue that his reorganization of the Army's Air Corps, the Luftstreitkräfte, into the independent service branch in the late 1930s saved Germany. The operational flexibility that the new Luftwaffe gained is accredited to an important factor that prevented major cities like Dresden, Munich, and Berlin from being bombed into oblivion by British and French strategic bombers. Likewise, bold investments in the embryo field of jet technology and the subsequent work in the developing streamlined production has resulted in the Reich possessing the world's largest and most advanced air force in the world. Today, this hero of the nation has announced his intention to retire from the armed forces in order to make a clean break and enter politics, a decision that has blindsided and surprised many. Can we have like the Red Banner become prime minister? Is that a thing that we can do? Because that has unlocked something, but I don't know where that. Maybe that's unlocked something in the future that we don't have access to yet. We'll have to kind of wait and see. But political power is now currently at 140, and the Oxford Treaty has signed. Following days of intense negotiations and thinly veiled threats, the Oxford Treaty has been agreed, ratified, and signed by representatives of both Germany and Britain. With the ink drying on the documents, an acceptable peace has been ensured in Europe. In the coming days, General Field Marshal Albridge von Maxen will withdraw from the continent, or withdraw to the continent, leaving the southern counties rather effectively pacified of syndicalist activity. When he returns to Berlin, Maxen is expected to receive a hero's welcome from the Kaiser, Bradau, and the Chief of Staff Ludwig Beck, while the diplomatic contingent will be returning slightly afterwards, once all necessary documents have been enshrined in the law. The Kaiser reportedly delighted with the developments in Oxford and has congratulated Nuret and Kronprinz Wilhelm privately for their stellar work in upholding Germany's interests during negotiations. The British have been utterly humiliated by the treaty. However, any public backlash for Prime Minister Eden is of no concern to us for now. And look at that, we're now 32 points in our favor. Like, we are so good at maintaining hegemony in a new. Also, by the way, I restarted my computer between episodes, so yeah, the game definitely runs a lot faster. I've got to figure out what is actually causing my computer to lag so much recently. I think maybe it's not turning it off and on more often enough. Anybody else just leave their computer on for days on end? This probably is not good for it, huh? Anyway, Neurath returns to Germany. After a fruitful Oxford conference wherein the British accepted our demands, Foreign Minister Constantin Van N has returned to Germany with the Kronprinz in tow. Neurath, one of the diplomats' might, whose diplomatic might was instrumental in our final victory against the British, has received a hero's welcome. He's expected to be awarded the Pour l'Emerit for his efforts in strengthening the German nation and keeping the British nest of syndicalist vipers firmly under the German heel. We love to see it. We love, love, love it. Okay. We are missing a lot of stuff, though, unfortunately. Chromium, let's see if we can start trading with everybody once again. We'll trade with Mexico. Aluminum, we'll keep on trading with the Dutch on that. And the scuttling of the Republican Navy. The once mighty Republican Navy, pride of the Union of Britain, has met its end. Divided among Germany, Canada, and the French Republic, the fate of the 57 ships it was uncertain until now. Canadian and French officials announced that their allotments would be scrapped or recommissioned, leaving the Germans as the endemic recipients. In a recent broadcast, the final fate of the German-acquired ships was revealed. Taken to the Indian Ocean alongside vessels from Communist France, Socialist Italy, and German-made ships designed for scrapping. The Electric Freak was anchored northwest of the Seychelles, an observation post flanked by German Indian sector fleets, stood miles away on a desolate coral and granite stretch. A lone radio operator counted down to zero, triggering an underwater atomic bomb named Njord. The resulting explosion sank most of the ships near the epicenter, including the French battleship Biaf and the British cruiser Robert Catesby. Heavily damaged and irradiated, the remaining vessels floated, a poignant testament to the Operation Bastion. Beyond the scientific test, it serves as propaganda, so that Germany's nuclear dominance and the issued veiled warning to Ottawa: play along or risk the whirlwind. Britain no longer rules the waves. You know, I feel like maybe I could have gotten some use out of those ships, but I mean, I guess you could nuke them as well. I mean, I can't stop you. Radar stations, fighters, ground attack, or more air attack. I mean, more air attack allows us just to shoot down enemy planes better, and if we shoot down the enemy's planes so that they don't even have an air force, then our ground attack is just going to be unimpeded by enemy fighters. So probably go for the Fighter Mafia, which is a great name. Consumer goods stability goes up. This is for veteran payments. You know what? Veteran payments sounds like a good idea. Something we probably want to get done sooner rather than later. Okay, excavation and construction 2 are now finished. So what do we have in here? 1950. Let's go for a better truck. And what about support company? No. Support companies seem like they're basically the same. Artillery won't be until 52. I mean, we could get anti-tank, but you know what? About some Leopard ones? Let's get some new tanks in here as well. I'm so happy I restarted my computer. Like, it actually goes so much faster on Speed 5. It's crazy. The next OHL. General Field Marshal Ludwig Beck, Commander-in-Chief of the Heer for the past 7 years, had announced his imminent retirement. Beck's time as head of the army was a critical one for Germany. By the time he took command of the army, his predecessor in the role, Ferdinand van Brito, had failed to prevent the Third Internationale from overrunning Belgium, the Netherlands, and the Rhineland. Indeed, it was only through the intervention of the newly appointed Reichschancellor Kurt von Schleicher that Brito managed to save himself from further disgrace when the former appointed him Vice-Chancellor in 1941. Working closely with Field Marshal Gerd von Rundstedt, Beck was able to stabilize the Western Front along the Frankfurt line, for shifting focus on halting the Russian advance in the east, a task that was ably delegated to the Nubian armies once they were ready to take on the task. Even then, the German army fought on for 4 more years on bloodshed and attrition that would see the fall of Paris and the fighting retreat on the Russian hordes, leaving thousands of hectares in the east burned and ruined wasteland. While vindicated as a competent and effective leader, the stress of command has left the good general exhausted. His retirement has come to no surprise and is rumored to have been in the works for some time. From the upper echelons of the general staff, there are 2 names that have emerged as the possible successors for one of the most powerful positions. Is his name... Okay. The General of the Panzers or General of the Artillery? I thought his name was Artillery Albert Kesselring. Well, let's go for the Panzertruppen. So let's, yeah, sure. We'll put Mansion in here. So we keep on, okay. That has completed you. Europe Project, Weltkrieg. Yeah, I think this is going to unlock it just a little bit later. Okay. So what do we get after this? We can expand the... I don't know what the hell that is. The Schleswig War. Different things, different generations. Okay, that's for Berlin. Not super important right now. What about you? Infrastructure construction speed is a little bit meh. You know what? Let's do a grand bureaucratic overhaul. And have we unlocked some stuff in here now? Yes. Current progress for the reforms at 20%. We currently have 103 out of 415 seats. Restrict circulation. So this is to restrict circulation of different papers. Enacted in 1941, the Wartime Press Regulations Act helped regulate the news of the Empire, silence the dissidents and moral high during our darkest hour. Part of the Vice Chancellor led those reforms. We used our executive authority to amend the act, allowing us to remain intact during peacetime as a preventative measure against anti-imperial media. So, how I typically, like whenever we're playing a new country or we're playing a new mod that I'm not familiar with, what I typically try to do is just kind of stay the status quo for whatever government is in charge. So if we start syndicalist, or if we start like socialist, we'll stick socialist. Because we're sticking with this government, it makes sense that the government would want to try to maybe enact some of these laws. And because again, I don't really have a set path I want to go down. We'll just kind of stick status quo for now, and we'll see how that goes. So again, we don't have a lot of seats though. So we might need, so no active law. No active laws in here. So I still don't think we're voting for anything. But we'll see. The announcement of the Montgomery Pact. The Canadian Parliament has officially passed Bill C-22. The new law is more commonly known as the Montgomery Plan, named for General Bernard Montgomery, who had spent the better part of the year brainstorming. It says barnstorming, but that's okay. Canadian advocating for the new law. The law calls for a massive increase of spending, not for the military defense in Europe directly, but rather towards reconstruction efforts and financial aid to accord nations in Europe who are under threat from the Kaiser. The nations who are meant to be primarily targets include South France, the UK, Spain, Portugal, and Italy. New England has promised a similar bill we passed within a year to follow up on these initial expenditures. While after previous wars, nations would be hesitant to send their hard-earned money to people who were recently enemies, General Montgomery has convinced Canadians that aid to former syndicalists in Italy, France, and England, who are no longer the Accord's enemies, but are freedom-loving people who desire safety from the Reichspact's heavy hands. So it seems like again, I'm kind of piecing things as we go. But, as the real Cold War was a Cold War between, liberal capitalist ideology versus, Marxist Soviet ideology in Moscow. Instead, we're looking at more of like a liberal ideology coming out of Ottawa versus a more reactionary ideology coming out of Berlin. So as opposed to, so it's maybe a little bit more like the New Order in that way, where it's liberalism versus fascism. This one's more like liberalism versus just generic authoritarianism, I guess. Because I don't think we're necessarily, because we're just like reactionary. We're not like fascist. Anyway, the Treaty of Shimoni has been signed. The Japanese government has officially finished its decade-long intervention in China today with the signing of the Treaty of Shimoni. Several Chinese representatives attended the sparsely populated signing ceremony in the city of Shimoni in the Champarono district, where the first Treaty of Shimoni has been signed just over half a century earlier. Members of the Imperial Japanese Army, as well as the governments, were intended to provide their signatures, and the Chinese notables included Zheng Alai of the Southern Chinese Provisional Government and Ku Wei-chun of the Northern Beiyang Republic left their imprinter on the document as well. Ultimately, as it began to rain, the Chinese departed with a little pomp for ceremony. Apparently, just glad to have a promise to be left alone for what rumored to be an exorbitant price. So at some point, I'm assuming that the Beiyang government and the Guangzhou government are going to go to war. There has to be like some sort of union here. The Red Ghost, total compliance. Do they both have this? Yes. So basically, Japan got everything it wanted out of China. Okay, quarterly growth. How have we done? 1.07. Okay, we're going off to the goddamn races. A 7% increase? I mean, I guess it makes sense. We did just come out of a major war, so any kind of funded the NAP, cracked on the socialist. Yeah, okay, let's split the Democratic Union to the best of our ability. And with 220 political power, what do we want? Because right now we're merit-based. Quota place is more population. I don't think we need to increase immigration right now. What about, like, research? Monthly population, factory construction goes up. The output goes up. Military construction speed. So, you know what? Let's go for... Yeah, let's get the chemical monopoly here. More population, more output, more fuel, more construction speed. You know, we get the technology research bonuses as well. It all seems, I think, fairly nice. The 1948 Kriegssitz Press The execution of newly expanded presidency did not happen without controversy. While Bredeau has made a strong case for its necessary to the public, it is failing to persuade many of the more liberal-minded and left-wing opponents who are already critical of the original act. Liberals and social democrats alike have been near universal in their condemnation for Bredeau's expansion, risking severe consequences, but doing so to rally the public pressure against Bredeau to convince him to back down, something that Bredeau was already ruled out. The effects of the law have already been felt, and papers that have been critical of Bredeau's policies have already been sent warnings and notices to comply or be shut down. While public anger will likely simmer for some time, eventually it can be expected to fade as national media adjust to new legal expectations for a loyal nation. So what about you? What are you? You are a social conservative, okay. An opportunity in Austria. The Austrian minister-president has retired. There is a chance, therefore, that we can help elect an individual who will be aligned to our viewpoint in international domestic affairs. Engelbert Dollfuss is been no secret to his appreciation for the style of rule currently in Berlin, and could be expected to emulate it in Danubia. You know what? We will not meddle in Danubian affairs. I feel like Austria is already kind of in our camp. I don't think it makes sense for us to kind of rock that boat any more than we need to, right? They're a loyal ally. I was wrong, I think, before when I said I think Austria did not join the war. I think they did join the war, but I think they joined really late. But, you know, I want to keep on side, and I don't want to... If I mess up in their affairs and they find out, they will hate me, and that seems bad. Having successfully secured favorable terms for the Empire in the Treaty of Oxford, Constantin Van N has decided to end his career in a diplomatic high note and retire to his ancestral estate in Eschweigen. The two candidates have been suggested to replace Nerath as the head of the Ashwat-Amt. The first is Aaron Ettel, a naval veteran and military's preferred choice. Alternatively, there is Ernst von Weizsäcker, the current ambassador to the Holy See and favorite of the Conservatives. I think we want to go for the conservative choice here. The generals will be a little bit less supportive, but having more support from some sort of civilian government, I think, will be beneficial. Because the conservatives, I want them on side. I need more support in the Reichstag. So if we can get, you know, the right wing of Zentrum, who the BVP? The thing is, there's more parties listed there than there is ideologies. Okay, so the BVP are also conservatives. So I would like to get them on side if we can. Zentrum is also generically considered conservative, but again, they are split into 3 factions. Minor liberals, the agrarians, local parties. A lot of stuff here, a lot of stuff. Okay, we got 25% of our reforms through. Ministry reforms, more reform progress. Political cost 0.5. Trial of the Kronksplan. Lutz Graf Sherwin von Krugsieg is an experienced administrator and has submitted a series of reforms concerning the Bundesrat, hoping to streamline the system by reducing redundancies and the overly complex Wilhelm-era bureaucracy while increasing DNEF's involvement in their decision-making. Though we can't yet formally enshrine them into the law, owing to the limitation of the Enabling Act, we should at least... Okay, so people get more seats. You know what? Yes, I would love to weaken the power of what is effectively like the Senate. We can pack the courts. Yeah, let's pack the courts as well. Let's fucking go. I love dictatorship, baby. Let's go. Fuck your democratic institutions. We don't need that shit. Pack the courts. Pack the courts. I'm so fucking stupid. Anyway, we're gonna get our reform progress up here. Okay. We split them. Well, we try to split the Democratic Union. You require the aftermath of the Colon Rebels, which has not happened yet. You can't really go through this any longer. So let's resume these. I understand why it's all in German, but at the same time, I wish it wasn't in German so I could read what the hell it is. I'm assuming this is resuming the social welfare programs. So let's try that going. There's no description here, but that's okay. Again, this is, I should note, I should make clear, this is 0.1. This is the earliest released version of the mod. It is not going to be feature complete in any way, shape, or form. But you know, I'm just having a good time being here. And you know what? I'm enjoying all of you being here with me. Social smear campaign resumes. One of the most potent tools that those who oppose our actions is unity. Right now, there are many in the Reichstag who are unified in their opposition against us. When they speak with a singular focus, it elevates them beyond what they otherwise would have been, and risks the public choosing to take them more seriously. Their actions threaten our ability to properly ensure Germany's security and prosperity, and must be dealt with. An operation has been authorized, focusing on tarnishing and undermining this unity. With our political allies and the press under control, we release details against members of to ruin their reputations and make them impossible to be publicly associated with. Rumors, scandals, every piece of information that we can gather will be used against them. So long as it is not attributable to us, anything is on the table, regardless of the truth. All that matters right now is that the united of the socialist vanguard breaks and the public ignores their words. If not, turns against them completely. Now, I will say, I can definitely tell that the writing for at least Germany probably was not written by a native English speaker, I would have to assume. Due to misspellings and the grammar being a little bit off, and that's kind of why sometimes I'm tripping over my words, is because they're written in a bit of a weird way. But I think that at least right now, this is going to be a good time for us to end this episode. If you enjoyed, thumbs up. Not, you can click thumbs down. You want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.